response available to those who didn't get stitched by hot lead was to drop in the garbage before they dropped us in it. As we did, the city opened up on us. Machine gun fire ripped relentlessly, coming in long bursts and from multiple directions. Too much blood of my blood had already been spilled that day. It seemed unavoidable a whole lot more, including my own, was about to flow into that flood. Hopelessness threatened to overwhelm my senses. A new thought firmly took hold in my mind. Time to make these bastards pay. Part 2. The Bronx. Chapter 2. Never Never Land. The thing is, I didn't have to endure years of rigorous training and get spat out in some hellhole on the other side of the planet to obtain first-hand experience with shocking brutality and senseless violence. No, that was all too often the ground truth in the Bronx back in the 1980s, the environment in which I was born and raised. The symmetry isn't perfect. The South Bronx, circa 1988, is not a direct parallel to Hussein 2004, but it was near enough. I was the middle child of a Puerto Rican family of 5 who called 184th Street between Bathgate and Bassford home. We were a bilingual family, although we predominantly spoke English, and in that we fit right in. The surrounding neighborhoods were almost exclusively Hispanic, and that more or less remains the case to this day. Only a few blocks over was Little Italy, an area once controlled by prominent Cosa Nostra figure Salvatore Maranzano, and where John Gotti was originally from. The Italians always had beef with the Hispanics. And then there were the blacks in the projects down in Webster. There were obvious racial divides and rifts in the Bronx, especially in the 80s. Each area was a world unto its own. My mom, Evelyn, was pretty much the matriarch for our family. Pretty much is the matriarch for our family. She grew up destitute, and even then took on the role of the motherly figure for her siblings. She made sure they were all fed and got to school. So she was well practiced by the time she had kids of her own. And she lived through her kids. We were her outlet. She just got that heart and would take care of the world if she could. My father, Edwin, was born in Puerto Rico and moved to New York when he was 7. That guy has been a ninja with his hands as far back as I can remember. He made a name for himself as a skilled mechanic, carpenter, and electrician, your versatile, multi-purpose handyman. Anything you could tear apart, he could put back together. People in the neighborhood would come to him with all sorts of projects that needed doing. Besides my brother Eddie and my little sister Melanie, my aunt, uncle, and cousins were also very much a part of the picture growing up. In fact, Manny, Daisy, and Mickey were cousins in biology only. Anywhere other than a family tree diagram, we were siblings. We'd meet up at my grandmom's building every single day and just hang out. It sounds almost idyllic until you delve a little deeper into the surrounding environment. New York's crack epidemic destroyed lives on all sides throughout the 80s. It didn't matter how deeply entangled or innocent you were. There were more than enough random atrocities to go around. I saw the blood of my blood spilled for the first time when I was just 5 years old, before Melanie was even born. I was with my cousins, imagine that, and we were across the street from my father's auto garage. While my old man was out of sight in the garage, Don was out front with his head buried deep in the carburetors of my dad's mint green Cadillac. A flash of motion attracted my attention and my eyes went wide, just in time to see a junkie dash up behind Don. In horror, I realized he was brandishing a sawed-off shotgun. The junkie leveled it to the back of my uncle's head and yanked the trigger. There was no warning. It all happened so fast that it would have felt more nightmare than reality if it hadn't been accompanied by that deafening boom. Startled by the shocking noise and the gaping immediate sense of loss that came with it, all we could do was shake. My mom and aunt rushed us and immediately herded us down the block and back to the real and symbolic shelter of home. We bawled the entire way. With us removed from immediate harm, our mothers finally joined in, spilling out in their own overwhelming grief. I can still remember that hysterical screaming in the aftermath of my uncle's senseless murder. Even the home we escaped to that day was less than an impenetrable fortress. The fact was hammered home a few years later. Not yet even 10 years old, I was awoken by static and intermittent chirping, along with the occasional tiny voices emanating from down the hall. Groggy and confused, I rubbed my eyes, looking for clarity. Gradually, the dark silhouettes of 2 police officers racked into tight focus while police radios barked out from behind them. The 2 hovered over my mother, who I could see was clearly agitated, even in my half-awakened state. Furious might be more of an apt description. "Mom, what's going on?"